Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to RoxAnneLava Monday Mission. And this week is, as I said, a huge, huge day because I am creating a new video for my business. And it's super, super hard and really interesting. It's something that we've got to do as small solopreneurs and makers. So a couple of things that I just wanted to show you, and we'll start with me up close and then with me coming back in and working on some other things, is that one of the things that I've really learned over the pandemic is how much everybody's business has got to become kind of a broadcast company. And we are creating the media, which will then eventually sell our product. And one of the best ways to do that is via video. And it's one of the reasons that I started the RoxAnneLava Monday Mission. Now, one of the things that's really important is understanding how to create some of your media and some of your broadcast media. So I thought it would be really great today to start with and talk with you about how and what is going on and how I am, in fact, approaching this event. So let's talk about this in just a sort of format that's going on, and I'll tell you how I work on this and how I do it. Now, I do want to tell you all, I do have a lot of experience in film, video, photography. I have a background in all of that from work. I've hung out with a lot of film and video people and have some very close friends in that, so I've acted in them. I've been part of working with them on their productions. And I also have been doing this for a really long time. So I do also have a process that works for me. It may not work for you, but we're going to see how it goes. Okay. So the first thing that I wanted to do is tell you a little bit about what my goals are and where I got my inspiration. So as you all know, if you've been watching me, I do these bridal showcases online. I have what we'll call loosely a commercial. It's a really infomercial about who I am. It shows what I've got. I've been working with two different versions of that since I started doing this, and I felt like it's really time now to do a new version and to get that out there. And I'm trying to do it in such a way that it really shows me, hey, Neil, how you doing? And it really, really shows me how I can, in fact, show the breadth of what I do. So let's just talk about my shoe business for a minute as we get involved in how to create this promo piece. So of course, with my shoe business, everything is pretty much custom ordered. It's made to order, but it's also customized. And it's particularly customized for brides. But I do a whole bunch of other shoes that, let's just say, are a little more standard, but they still incorporate different types of material, different styles, different embellishments, etc. So what I really wanted to do is to make sure that I could kind of also combine the two things that I do in my messaging. And I knew where I wanted to go. I'm going to take you on my journey, but my journey is maybe a little bit different than how yours would be. I find things come into my head the more I just kind of let them mull. So for me and the way that I plan, it may be a little less linear than the way that you might be comfortable planning. But what I will say is I knew I needed this third video. I wanted to do it. There were a number of things I wanted to change about my previous two. And I knew that I wanted to make it more inclusive of what I do and more adaptable. How about if I say that, to a variety of different areas, not just 100% bridal. So I happened to be looking through a bridal magazine. And I was looking for a lot of things in that bridal magazine, as you can imagine. I was looking for maybe some new connections. and got a lot of information from the bridal magazine. It was a local bridal magazine, and it's a freebie. But it had some beautiful photography in it. So I'm going to just hold up to you the first thing that really struck me. And the first thing that really struck me was this photo of the flowers on top of the vintage car. Now, I'm a car buff. Who knew? I'm a woman of many tastes. So the car really kind of inspired me. I also, as you know, have a retro aesthetic. And so the vintage quality of the car also brought up a lot for me. What was also on this page that I really liked was, and these are a little bit harder to see, so I'm going to try and get them up close. You can maybe see here that what we have is a plate, and we have flowers in a little ice cream cone. And then over here, again, we have flowers in a little ice cream cone. So I'm just going to show you where my mind went. Ice cream cone instead of the ice cream cone. Same kind of shape, thinking about what I can do with this. Okay, so let's just keep that in mind, and we're going to go back to that in a few minutes. On the flip side, there's also this beautiful historic home, also very much Ann Cecil Street. And then there was this also very lovely place setting that I liked. And this one in particular, also with the floral on the metal serving tray, is something that I really liked. I'm going to go back to the other side just for a minute, because I also want to show you that this bouquet is something that I just want you to keep in mind, because it's tied together with one of the biggest things that you should always have in your toolkit if you are ever doing anything with fashion or accessories. And funny enough, that product is called Tulle, Tulle. And I wanted to just show that to you because this is something that can be such a lifesaver. They come in rolls. This one is a very fine net. So much so that you probably can't even see it on my face. This other one has a larger open net. They come in these rolls, and they come in any color you would really like to have. I just happen to have black. I thought I had some ivory, and I can't find it today. But these are always great things to have in your toolkit as you are working, because they help to fluff things up. They can tie things together. They can drape. You can use yardage of it so it can encompass more than one thing. It can help create space. It can help create visual texture. So all of these things are really important when you're thinking about shots. So that was a little venture off into your toolkit. Now, let me just go back to sort of where I went with this car. So this goes to, I'm a solopreneur. There are a lot of things I can do on my own, but it is very difficult to create a photo shoot where you are the subject. It is also, I mean, I could go rent that car if I wanted to, but I tend to not like to have to invest that much because I got to be very careful about where I'm spending my dollars. So I happen to have a collaborator that I've been working with for a very long time who happens to have a Jag, a retro Jag. He also, on top of being many other things, has been actively pursuing a lot of photography in the last few years, and particularly a lot of model photography. And he's come up with a lot of really, really great photos. So I know him very well. We have a working relationship. We have a creative relationship. And I knew he had the Jag. I, on the other hand, have a Mustang. Keep this in mind. Mine is an '07 Mustang, but I'm going to tell you all a little secret. My first car was a 1966 Mustang, my most favorite car ever. Okay. So, as I said, I'm a car buff. I know a little bit about them. So the car in this image led me to the collaborator, one of my collaborators. Now, I also need to do some video, and that's not really his thing, but the video clips are things that I just need somebody to get me doing, and then I'll voice over it on the computer. Okay. So the second thing, though, that I wanted to talk about in terms of collaboration is that it is important to build your network of friends with whom you can collaborate, and also, or associates with whom you can collaborate. And also, the beauty of it is that by bringing in a collaborator, what started out as kind of your idea in a vacuum, again, we've talked about this in terms of solopreneur. A lot of times, what's the hardest thing about being a solopreneur is it's you and it's only you. And that means that you have to be able to constantly step back and assess what you're doing from your own mind. And that sometimes is really, really hard. So, the collaborators as part of your network is great. The other really cool thing about your collaborators is when they work with you, they are, I'm going to sneeze. Excuse me. And again, so here comes spring and my allergies are kicking in. It's not the COVID, I promise. Anyway, so what I was going to say is the beauty of having the collaborators are they also have a network of people where they can promote what they've done with you, and so thereby promoting you to a whole new crowd of people who are not necessarily part of your network. Okay. The other thing is they can bring in some really cool ideas and help make the project better because there's more creative energy and creative ideas going in. So you end up getting the best of both worlds. Now, the second thing, of course, I told you was that I loved what really clicked this for me too, was that this looks like an ice cream cone. The other thing about these photos and their aesthetic is a lot of the sort of sensibility of what they are is very closely aligned to my aesthetics. And what is also was important to me was that they were showing the use of color within the context of bridal. So also very important. One of the things that's always hard for me is my shoes are small and they tend to be in neutrals. They might have an accent color, but they tend to be in neutrals because they're for bridal. And so what happens is if I'm in a live bridal show and somebody's got cake over here and somebody's got video over here and somebody's got a DJ and a photo booth over here, it's very hard for my product to compete in that world. So color is going to be a great way for me to also work on adding emphasis to my shoes. And so that's going to be something that's pretty cool. Now, I have a wedding dress that used to be my wedding dress. It was cut off. So it was T-length when it started. It's a mini dress now. It was a 1940s dress. It's not going to cut it for this kind of photo shoot. So I had to figure out, well, how can I make it something else? Now, let me just start with this. This is my inspiration. So my brain is already thinking about what do I have? What do I need? How can I pull it all together? I've reached out to my collaborator friend. We've selected a location and we've selected a day and a time. Okay, so now I've got to start planning this day. So I knew that I needed something, and you guys are going to see it the first way through, that I could use to kind of fix my dress that would also kind of alter it. So I went out online, and what I found was this crinoline skirt. Now I've just opened it up. So you can see, hopefully, that this is really an underskirt for a puffy dress, but I'm going to actually use it as part of my dress. So essentially, my dress will probably come down to here. And then from the knees down, we'll see more of this flirty, flowy thing. Now, this is inside out right now. So I'm going to turn it right side out. Now, you might think this is tulle, and you would be right. This is a very fine tulle skirt. And you see that because it's tulle, it kind of stands out a little bit on its own. So it's going to give body. So this is how I'm creating my sort of makeshift wedding outfit. And the other beautiful part of it is that it'll show off my shoes very nicely. Okay. And if you can imagine this, and you'll see some of these photos as they come out. So you'll follow my story on Instagram and you'll start to see them. One of the things that I did want to tell you though is it's very important that you pull out and check all of these items before the photo event. And the other thing that's going to be your friend is a steamer. So later on today, I will actually be steaming out this particular tulle skirt and fluffing it up and packing it in a way that it will not get crushed again as it goes down. The other thing that I needed is some flowers. And so I decided that I was going to go with faux flowers. And the reason for that was that I had no idea what kind of day it was going to be. And I didn't want to have to rely on my local store for any problems during the pandemic with not having a selection of flowers that I wanted or whatever. So again, I went out online and I found a floral bouquet. Now, one of the things I want to tell you that's really funny about this is this would probably be my least favorite color ever in the world. Seriously. But somehow this is going to be the color that I am going to use. So another thing that will tell you is when you are having your designer hat on, you have to step out from what you think, like what you like and don't like. And you have to be open to being able to use anything that does the job right. So it came on this big, thick sort of joining stick. And I don't want that because I want to be able to use smaller ones, larger ones, etc. So I've been cutting them off and I've just taken a clipper, a wire cutter, and I'm cutting them down at the bottom. And I just thought I'd save the last two for you so that you could kind of see what I was doing. Okay, so now we need to think about and vision what we would want to do with these flowers. Now, I'm no florist, guys. I really am not, but I'm pretty handy with cool ideas. So I was thinking all about what do I have? And here are some things that you might have around that I think are pretty interesting to think about. So I have a lot of doilies, antique doilies from my mother. So that was one thing I started to think about in terms of putting together a floral arrangement. I also have a lot of vintage handkerchiefs. So these are other things that can work. And the other thing that I always have around is always have a bunch of ribbon. I save ribbon from anything that I get that has ribbon on it. So I keep that around a lot. And I also have a bunch of vintage scarves. And this one happens to have a cutout because I had used it to make a pair of shoes that didn't work out so well. So there you go. So when I think about these things, now I'm starting to think about, well, can I take this bouquet and sort of arrange it the way that I would like to arrange it? Okay, so I'm not going to spend a lot of time doing it with you guys. But now what happens if I first sort of wrap it, and I know you can't see what I'm doing, but you'll see in just a sec. If I start to sort of wrap it, okay, with the lace, and then perhaps add the ribbon. And this is a nice ribbon because this ribbon is chiffon and satin. So it too has some texture and it's nice and long. So it'll wrap a little bit and it'll also have things that flow down. So that is one idea as to what I might do with this floral bouquet. Now again, we have to be ready for the shoot tomorrow. I got to decide what I'm going to do. So I have to decide now. Okay. Another way that I might do it though is maybe the lace is too much. So maybe what I will do is I will take the scarf. Again, I'm just going to put it down because I'm going to roll it, and you don't really need to see me roll it. But I'm going to then, oh yeah, so I'm going to actually make that a little smaller. And you'll get an idea, but not a great one, of exactly how it'll be. So with this one, because this is not so substantial, it's not really holding up very well. But perhaps what I would do is I would actually use something that's kind of gives it more stability or more body. So I could actually wrap this inside of the lace. So let's just see what happens if I do that. Okay, so now I have double layers, still not doing exactly what I want. For me, probably the lace is going to be the right thing, and I will probably find some interesting and new way to stiffen it. So, you know, I could starch it. I could put a little water on it with a little maybe sugar in it that will actually get this to stand up a little. Now, let's just move on, though, and think about that idea of the ice cream cone. So I'm just going to take a few smaller elements. And here, I just want you to remember that when you're working with these elements, what you really want to do is you really want to think about working in threes. You want to think about height, etc. So let's just look at what happens when all of a sudden we have the shoe with the flowers. Now, again, this may need to be wrapped in another doily or some kind of other thing, but this laying flat on a table kind of has that ice cream idea, but it brings the shoe in. So when I do that, it's unexpected. It's something that's a little quirky, and that is all about me and on brand for me. Now, let me also just say that one of the other things, if you're working with flowers, it's a great thing to have is some floral tape. It's not very expensive, but it's really good because if you need to wind things up or join flowers together, this will work quite well. Okay, so we've talked about some of the preparations that I'll need to do in order to get ready for the photo shoot. But let's talk a little bit about that photo shoot. Okay, so let me introduce you to the idea of a storyboard. And this book is one that I think I got from Amazon that is a blank storyboard. And you can see that if you go inside, it's a typical storyboard. It's got a place to draw. It's got a place for the shot type. It's got a place to add notes. And this is very useful, and it's a very common way that anybody who creates any kind of shoot in terms of video certainly does it this way because it's each scene. And also, I've always found this very useful for a photo shoot. The reason that you want to plan these things out is because you may not be photographing things in the order that they are in your head. Some people just use a shot list And you could do that too, but I like to start with the storyboard idea. I do not like using the book, and I'm going to tell you why. So I use index cards. You could also use Post-it notes, but I find the index card incredibly useful. So what I do on my index cards is I just make some silly little drawings on them, and I put my notes on them. And, you know, I just have a couple, they don't have to be, you know, this is not like fine art. These are just notes for me. They're just for me to know what is going on and what is happening. And so I understand what this means in terms of what I need in order to do this shoot. Let me say that what's going to happen is I'm going to do some shooting on Wednesday because there are things I can do by myself. They don't include me. So they will be still lives. So what I have to do is I'm putting them together in here in my shot list. But before I go for tomorrow, I will take only the ones I need to do with my collaborator. Very important. The other thing that's great about these is if I don't like something I did in this book, and this book is something that I need to change, I have to like X it out. I have to put a big X through it. And it's still, though, in my list. That could be a good thing because maybe as you go back, you X'd it out and you decide maybe I shouldn't have X'd that one out. Maybe it's actually a good idea. So that could be. For me, though, these are great because I can just remove them. If I don't like what one's doing and I think it was really stupid, I can rip it up. I can put it in the shredder. I don't have to allow it to distract me. Sometimes it's great to see where your idea has come from. Other times it's great to just get it out of your head because sometimes what you do is you stick on an idea trying to make it right when it was never going to be right. Learning which is probably something that you will develop over time if you have not done a lot of creative work beforehand. But here's the other thing. I can also, on the back of these, if this is a video clip and I need a script, I can write the script on the back. I can talk about whether I need a long shot or a close-up. So in fact, here's just a quick one I did. And it says that we're going to do a long shot, but we're also going to do a close-up of this shot. So as we're doing it, I can also tick these off and I can see what I have been doing. If I need to say something, I can say it on the back, okay? So I start with these ideas, I start to pull them out, and then I start to decide which ones I really need. And then what I'll do is I'll put them in the order I think we should do them. And here's why I think about the order. It may not be in the order that the actual promo video will end up in. But here's what I know. I'm going to do about 3 different costume changes. And yes, I also want you to think about this. I'm going to be outside in the park. I got my car. I got another car. Mustangs and Jags are not very good dressing rooms. Got to just say that. So I have to think about what am I going to go in? What am I going to wear under so that when I need to do a change in the car, I'm able to do it. And I need to make sure that I get all the shots from each costume change done before I move on to the next costume. So even if you're not the person who's going to be in your photos or your video, you need to think about that costume change and what it means. We don't want to waste time with me getting from one outfit into another to have to go back to the first outfit again. No, you want to make sure that you're getting it all as quickly, easily, and efficiently as you can. And also, when we're working outside, one of the things that is important is you don't want the light to change. So I don't want to, let's just say we were shooting in a late afternoon, right around now, the sun might be going down. Well, it may be great to have something with the sunset, but what you don't want is me from when the sun was high in the sky in a particular outfit, and then all of a sudden me in the sunset in that same outfit, because when you're putting it together, you can absolutely see that there's a difference there. So not very useful. So I'm a big proponent of the index card. The other thing that's really nice about the index cards is let's just say if I was going back to my inspiration again, let's just say I wanted to take one of my photos. I can't find it now. It's around here somewhere. Anyway, I could cut the photo out, and I could also just use a glue stick to put it down on here as the inspiration for what are we going to do in terms of this shot. So those are all ways for you to go back to and work with planning your shooting. And the next thing that I just wanted to talk about is, so this is how I work. Again, I let it all mull. And I do a lot of video of myself to promote my business, and I do a lot where I have to have a script. I don't like reading off a script because I generally find, not when I'm on camera, I can do it if I'm just doing a voiceover, but on camera, I have to, because I can see myself. So I hope this makes sense to you all. Because I can see myself, I have to be authentic to me. I talk a lot with my hands. I have certain kinds of ways that I move when I talk and the cadence that I talk. And so when I say something and my face is on camera and I'm watching myself do it, I need it to feel natural as opposed to reading. So what I tend to do is I put down the key points that I want, and I know what they're going to be. I tend to do short bursts, right? And so what I might do is I might have to do 15 takes before I get the right voice, but I will not read it off of something. So yesterday, for example, I was going skating, and I was thinking about this shoot, and I do a lot of good thinking while I'm walking or skating, times when I'm alone. And so as I was walking down to skating, I was thinking more about the shoot and what we were going to do and how we were going to position it. And I came up with some phrases and things that I want to actually put, or that I'm going to actually do. And I kept working on it and working on it, talking to myself. People think I'm crazy, I'm sure, when they walk past me. But finally, what I did was when I got to the one that I really liked, I repeat it several times, and then I use my iPhone voice recorder to put it on the voice record. Not because that's going to be the finished product, it's not, but I will have it the way I want it so that I can hear it before I go to do it, to put it into the finished product. So that for me is really an excellent way to work and for me to work. And I may have to record it several times. The beauty of having digital cameras, video cameras, and voice recorders is you can do it as many times as you want, and you can get rid of what doesn't work very easily. Yeah, when we had to do photo shoots when we were using real film, a lot of times we didn't know that we didn't have the shot we really wanted until we had developed the film. And so it was very time consuming. It took a lot of time to go back and say, oh my gosh, we don't have it. Oh, we don't have any more money in our budget. We're going to have to go with this, even though we don't love it. At this point, we can really work to get close to perfection as long as we have enough time to do it. So the last thing that I also wanted to go back to you about and talk to you about in terms of collaborators is that very often you will also need music. And so you really want to have your own music. You really want to have music that is also made by a collaborator. And so I would encourage you, as you are building your network, to find people who are like-minded, who have the same kind of tastes and aesthetics as you, but who are also capable of a range, who are capable of pushing you a little bit, who you don't always agree and go in lockstep with. People that sometimes have, really different ideas from you can also push you to see things in a different way and get them going in a different direction than what you originally thought about. So at this point, I wanted to also talk about some other things that you might like to always have. Vintage gloves are something that I always keep around because they are things that will be useful for you. As I said, the ribbon is useful. I would also keep around sort of any tableware that you might have that will also be exceedingly important for you and will work really well. And so those are some things that you can consider. So I'm going to just take a sec here and I'm going to pull out my AirPods because they are dying right now. And I'm going to then do a recap with you all. So if there are any questions, please just post them away or comments. I'm happy to hear them. And we will talk about them. I think I'm on now. Neil, can you hear me? I hope so. Okay. So I'm back on. I've turned my Bluetooth off, so I know that you guys should be able to hear me now and that it should not be a problem. What I'd like to just now kind of recap everything that I talked about. And it's been kind of a long day. So the first thing that I started with was that even a while ago, we talked about that one of the biggest lessons that I got from the pandemic was that it used to be that you used to say that the small business owner had to be a content creator. And now what we really need to become is a broadcast company. And I know that sounds like a really daunting task because we don't necessarily all have the tools to become a broadcast company, but we do. Because all we really need is a phone and some editing software. And these things are not super hard to have. So it has become much easier for us to become a broadcast company. And it's through sharing on that broadcast media that we will create customer relationships and then hopefully through those relationships cultivate our customers and do our sales. So we talked about that I needed to do a new promo for my bridal. I discussed that I wanted it to be larger than just bridal. And I told you to put a pin in that because we would talk about it a little bit. So as I was just saying to you, I was doing all my voiceovers in my head and loudly, to myself while I was walking to skating yesterday. And here's where I got to the crux of what I want to convey in this new piece. What I want to convey is that every moment is a special moment when you are with the people that you love. So that is the overarching theme or the moral of the story. The other thing that I want to kind of give people a look into is to thinking about themselves, their personal style, and identifying with some other styles. So the two cars are going to be very integral to this piece because we have the quintessential American muscle car, the Mustang. It's bold, it's brash, it's fast, right? So the personality of somebody who has those attributes is going to have a particular kind of personal style. And then we have the Jag, right, which is European, posh, sophisticated, even though it's a sports car. So there are these two personas, if you will, that I'm going to be presenting. And they are by far not really the bridal type of personas, although posh and sophisticated might be, bold and brash might be. But within the context of anything that you are doing as a human being, and particularly when we talk about a wedding style, there are a number of styles. And if it's your wedding day, you should have your style reflected in everything you do. So the idea of the cars is going to be to present two sorts of personas. And then as I work my way through, I'm going to show sort of four experiences, if you will. So shopping with your mom, brunch with your friends, walking down the aisle with your father, and on your honeymoon afterwards. Okay. So there will be visuals that will kind of take you through that. So you'll have an opportunity to kind of see, oh, here's the bold brash American. Oh, here's the posh sophisticate. Even if it's not you, even if one of those two personas is not you, you will start to understand the overarching theme and style. And then you will be presented with these four things that are very important marks or milestones in your life as you're going into your wedding and after, but also they are important things to do and they are special occasions anyway. You know, when you travel with people who are special to you, when you eat with people who are special to you, when you shop with people who are special to you, those are all great moments in your life. So there's no reason not to celebrate them. And so that's how I'm going to tie it together. Now, what I did in terms of that is I started to think about visually what they were going to be. I showed you the inspirations I started from. That really started the ball rolling in how I was going to do this and the context in which I was going to present it. I also want you to remember that one of the things that's really important to me as a maker is that when I put something out there too, that it has my personality behind it. I know I told you as the designer, you have to choose and use things that maybe are not your favorite thing, and that's true. So I'm using flowers that are not really my favorite thing. I'm just using a whole color palette that's not really my go-to color palette in reality. However, when you are your brand, which is the case for me, it has to be authentic to me, or it won't be authentic to my brand, if that makes sense. So what we have here is to remember that now I have my inspiration. I now know and have assessed what things I have other than the product, the shoes, that I'm going to use. I've identified collaborator who can help me, and I've selected a location that will be able to work well with this theme. All right. So now I have to start to, what I then would have done and what I did do is I started to build my shot list. Again, I use the index cards. It was the way I was taught. I find them to be useful because they can be arranged, moved around. They don't need a board to do it with like you would with a sticky or a Post-it. So these can just be laid out on the ground and looked at and thought about. They allow me to put a script on the back if I need them. They allow me to make notes about long shot, short shot, close up, whatever I want to put on here. Okay. And so they intersperse with still and video. So that's really what I like. It's not the only way to do it. Again, you could look at a blank storyboard, or you could create your own storyboard and you can fill it in this way. One of the big bonuses, and I think why I bought this, was because I was actually going to plan something while I was on a vacation, and I didn't want to lose my index cards. So, of course, there's another thing you could do with this. If you really like this format, the other thing is it's a little too small for me. But if you like this format, there's no reason you couldn't cut them out as individual shots and use them that way as well. Okay. So then we talked about how you have to make things your own. We talked about a few things that would be very helpful for you. So in the fashion world, if you are working with anything like this, first of all, always open it up and make sure that it's prepared. Don't just take it with you tomorrow and have it have to be this way.
You want to intentionally control what you can control. And so here's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be steaming a lot of garments this afternoon, and then I'm going to be carefully packing them so that they do not get crushed in any way. I will be preparing a lot of props that way. And in fact, probably and very most likely, I might even steam the flowers that I got because I might like them to look a little bit more like life. Okay. We talked about taking things apart so you can utilize them in a variety of ways rather than being limited by how they came to me. We talked about tool as being one of the key elements that you should have in your toolkit if you are doing anything with fashion or accessories. Again, come in lots of colors, inexpensive, add visual texture, can create froth and line and all kinds of things for you very simply and for not a lot of money and reusable. So something you can just take down and reuse. We talked about ribbons as well, and to always keep your ribbons because you can always utilize them for something. They act very much like the tool. I also showed you that I have a lot of doilies. And again, if you don't have these things, you might be able to find them in a thrift shop. You don't have to spend a lot of money for them. And in fact, they even make paper doilies. And I have a bunch of those too. Right here. And so I could poke out the center. This might be what I actually put on the shoe with the flowers in it when I do the tabletop arrangement. If you don't like them white and you can't find them in ivory or another color, here's a great way. If they're paper, you can tea or coffee dye them and they will take on a beautiful kind of sepia tone. So all you do, just take your leftover coffee from the morning, put it into a bowl, dip these in, let them sit for a couple minutes, pull them out, let them dry. You have coffee tinted doilies. You can also do that with fabric as long as it's a natural fiber. So those are really important. You can also use vintage handkerchiefs, vintage scarves. They don't even have to be vintage. Maybe they're modern. So those are all things that you can utilize that will help to enhance all of your scenes, if you will, your shots and your scenes, if you will. And then remember that as you are thinking about it, do you have to speak? If you have to speak, you want to make sure that you have in some way created a script for what you need to do. And then what I will do is we're going to shoot and we'll look through all the imagery that we have and all the video that we have. I'll do appropriate voiceovers for those things. And then, in fact, I'm going to work with another collaborator who puts together my video for me for the bridal showcase. I don't need him to, but I like him to because, again, he brings a different viewpoint to it. So he'll take all of what I have and he'll take what I think it should be. And if he thinks it should be something different, he'll make it something different. Now I'll get to see it and okay it. So don't get, it's not like I'm going to get something I don't like. But again, it's another opportunity to see it. And yes, Neil's asking if we're going to see the finished video. You will absolutely see the finished video. It's going to debut on March 25th, I think. So after it debuts on March 25th, it will go up on my website. It'll go up on my Instagram. But what you will also see is you are going to see photos, clips, all sorts of things through my Instagram, starting after tomorrow, maybe even during the day tomorrow while we are on location. You'll start to see some of the things that are happening and some of the ideas that are happening, and then you'll see the final clip. Now, I do want to just say that, you can put these together yourself. And so if you have some access to something like iMovie or the Android equivalent, it's not impossibly hard for you guys to do this on your own. I sometimes have even been able to do this with QuickTime. It depends what the edit is that I need to do. But it's it's not incredibly complex. It's just that when people who are doing it all the time do it, they kind of, I feel, I end up with a little bit more professional project because they're used to all the tools. And so they're able to actually do it quickly and give me what I feel is a better end production. And if you want to know why, so for example, the build up to this show with my mission intro, I put that together. I did it. It was easy, but there are things that I would edit there. I don't like it doesn't fade out properly. There are things between the numbers in the end that I think the timing isn't quite right. And I could go back and I could do that. But it's an intro for the show and we're learning as we go along. And so, there are these ideas where when is it worth me putting the time into making it perfection? It's an intro to my show. My show's funny. It's about me. It shows you a little about me. It's just quirky, and that's kind of how it is. But if this was something that I was trying to get brides to buy shoes from me, I may change it and make sure that I do have that perfection. So yes, you can watch as this develops and goes along. Check my Instagram, RoxAnneLava.shoes. That's RoxAnnelava.shoes on Instagram. And then check Instagram and my website and my Facebook for the finished video at the end of the month. So thanks so much for joining me, and I will see you again next Monday with my next RoxAnneLava Mission. And who knows, it might even be part of producing this promo piece. I'm not sure. That's the deal with the mission. Whatever I have to do on Monday, I do. And that's the life of a solopreneur. So thanks again for joining me, and I will see you next time. Have a great week and enjoy whatever you're doing. Bye-bye.